Anatomy Season 22's fall finale, When I Crash, delivered emotional chaos, massive cliffhangers, and major real-life revelations. But many fans feel the show's promising storylines are once again buried under non-stop emergencies. The episode opens with tension between Owen and Teddy, whose breakup drama gets interrupted by a sudden bus crash. Their rescue of cyclist Maisie forces them to work together. But instead of giving fans a long-overdue confrontation, the couple stalls out emotionally, leaving their relationship unresolved and unsatisfying. Meanwhile, the episode's biggest storyline centers on Jo Wilson, whose pregnancy spirals into a life-threatening crisis. After developing peripartum cardiomyopathy, Jo chooses a heart pump to give her twins more time, but her condition rapidly collapses in the OR. Without an available OB, Winston is forced to perform an emergency C-section for the first time since med school. The episode ends with Jo and her baby's fates completely unknown. Fans are furious. Viewers across Reddit and Instagram are threatening to rage quit or riot if Jo dies, calling her storyline bleak, repeat trauma, and cruel. Even Camilla Luddington warns the next episode is worse and that survival is not guaranteed. The hospital's interns provide lighter subplots, including a surprise elevator kiss between Quan and New Plastics fellow Dr. Mohandi, while Simone and Wes continue building tension. But the finale's biggest shock comes from Richard Webber, who quietly reveals he has cancer, mirroring actor James Pickens Jr.'s real-life prostate cancer battle, which he publicly discussed after the episode aired. Pickens is now cancer-free and using his platform to push for early screening. Hey lovely viewers, welcome to our channel Grey's Anatomy Official. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 Fall Finale Review. I'm tired of promising storylines getting bogged down by emergencies. As Grey's Anatomy's fall finale opened on Owen Hunt, Kevin McKidd, and Nora Floriana Lima, getting interrupted in bed by Teddy Altman, Kim Raver, and their daughters, I felt certain the episode would be a wild one. Unfortunately, Grey's also did what it seems to do best these days and pulled nearly all of its punches, leaving me wondering, what happened to our beloved Grey Sloan Memorial's drama? While that might sound a bit far-fetched, it feels like a fair assessment of the current state of the Grey's Union. Still, as the hour went on, the episode developed some interesting dynamics that I hope are going to come back into play when Grey's resumes in the new year, despite a lingering fear that we'll forever be circling the drain. Laying the foundation for some classic Grey's Anatomy-style drama, the stage was set for Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, to face complications after her water broke at the end of the last episode in the wake of Atticus Lincoln's, Chris Carmack, injuries from the season premiere. Elsewhere, Miranda Bailey, Chandra Wilson, voices her irritation at the way Richard Webber, James Pickens Jr., is behaving as acting chief. Hunt and Altman finally face their breakup, without a solid endpoint. Their difficult relationship is going to remain unresolved quickly after laying its foundation for the episode. Grey sprung an emergency onto Hunt and Altman, who witnessed a bus crash that left a cyclist, Maisie, trapped. Openly irritated at one another, Owen for the breach of privacy, Teddy for everything else, the pair put aside their differences to navigate getting their patient out from beneath the bus quickly, but less than efficiently. With a winding story about her now ex-boyfriend splitting up with her for reasons that seem stupid in hindsight, Maisie keeps Teddy and Owen's contentious relationship top of mind, especially when Altman makes the decision to crawl beneath the bus before it's fully stabilized, risking her life and Owen's sanity. Once they arrive back at Grey Sloan with Maisie, the pair struggles to find any kind of balance in their awkward interactions. Their build seems rife for a fight that, frankly, Teddy and Owen deserve to have. Instead, the former couple tearfully worked through their issues to a point, then left things unresolved and underwhelming. Rather than building to catharsis, the agonizing pair seems stuck again. Jo's pregnancy complications quickly became life-threatening. Her heart failure will continue when Grey's returns in January 2026. Although previews told us that Jo's pregnancy would be in jeopardy as Grey's Anatomy Season 22 rounded out the first half of the season, I was willing to stick my head in the sand throughout the last week. Jo, who has had the most trauma of nearly anyone on Grey's, deserves to be happy with Link and their daughters, but it's going to be a tough road there. After some investigation, Jo is dealing with peripartum cardiomyopathy throughout the episode. It's to the point that on the operating table, as a heart pump is being placed to help her improve, one of the babies begins to crash. Ben Warren, Jason George, heads out to find help, while Dr. Winston Digu Anthony Hill struggles to keep her stable. While it's safe to say Jo will be safe, her life hangs in the balance in a storyline that felt like a rinse and repeat of Grey's Anatomy Season 22's premiere with Link's life at stake. With Jo likely to come out of things with her heart and her babies intact, putting her through hell consistently makes less sense with each passing season. Grey Sloan Memorial's staff seem to be building new dynamics. Leaning in could improve the show's pacing elsewhere. There are issues bubbling between Dr. Benson Kwan, Harry Shum Jr., and New Plastics fellow Dr. Kavita Mohanty and Nita Kalathara, Dr. Lucas Adams, Nico Taro, and returning intern Danny Warren, Jade Pettijohn, and Simone Griffith, Alexis Floyd, and Wes Bryant, Trevor Johnson. Griffith and Warren's chemistry is palpable throughout the episode, but it's an elevator kiss between Kwan and Mohanty that caught my attention. The ever-charming Harry Shum Jr. and lovely new addition Anita Kalathara feel like a cosmic callback to the early days of Alex Karev and Addison Montgomery Shepherd, which felt deliciously more cat and mouse than expected. Kwan's overreach in the elevator leading to the pair's steamy first kiss is promising and left me hopeful for more from the pair next year. Weber's cancer diagnosis was a shock, but felt underscored by big swings. Bailey's reaction will surely build into the season's second half. The final moments of Grey's Anatomy's fall finale revealed a huge surprise about Weber, who'd plagued Bailey with overstepping decisions and an irritating attitude all day. When Bailey works up the nerve to talk to her mentor and friend, Weber reveals his diagnosis, cancer, without much more detail surrounding it. Despite this being a shock, it felt muddied by everything else happening in this episode. Grey's Anatomy is doing its best to build juicy storylines that will keep viewers coming back week after week. The problem, for me at least, is that Grey's knows how to create delicious drama, so why are they being so heavy-handed? My hope for the second half of Grey's Anatomy Season 22, which will return January 8th, is a lighter touch in their bedside manner. Grey's Anatomy star Camilla Luddington unpacks horrifying fall finale cliffhanger. Survival is not guaranteed. Exclusive. This story contains spoilers from Grey's Anatomy Season 22, Episode 6. Grey's Anatomy is headed for a holiday hiatus after tonight's episode, so of course, one of our favorite doctors' lives is on the line. Episode 6, titled When I Crash, followed as Dr. Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, struggled with heart complications stemming from her pregnancy, leading to a risky procedure to try to give her twins more time before birth that ended in the worst-case scenario. Once the babies started showing signs of distress in the OR, Dr. Winston Digu Anthony Hill had no choice but to perform Jo's C-section himself, despite not having done the procedure since he was in med school. This is what we do best. These horrifying, terrifying mid-season finales, Luddington told The Wrap exclusively on Thursday. The script was written so well, and that being the last thing that we see, I was like, oh my god. The writers are just incredible. This is a situation where everything hangs in the balance and survival is not guaranteed for a lot of us involved. The cost of a mistake could be everything, she added. Emotionally prepare, because the next episode, it's worse to be honest. Jo's fate will be up in the air until January 8th, when Grey's Anatomy returns with more episodes. This marks a shorter hiatus than usual for the long-running medical dramas, which typically leans toward a March date for its mid-season premieres. And that's great news, given all the cliffhangers we were left with in this episode. Richard James Pickens Jr. told Bailey Chundra Wilson that he's been diagnosed with cancer. Blue Harry Shum Jr. acted on his feelings for new surgical fellow Dr. Kavita Mohanty and Nita Kalathara, while Simone Alexis Floyd resisted her feelings for surgical intern Dr. Wes Bryant, Trevor Jackson. And of course, Helm, J.C. Elliott, returned from a long European vacation. I'm still reeling from this incredible episode. And that ending. What was your reaction when you learned what was coming for Jo in this fall finale? Luddington. I'd heard some whisperings that something was going to happen that was really big for Jo. And then when I got the script, I just knew I was going to have to really emotionally prepare myself, because it gets dark. This one and then the next episode after this, it's really dark. Jo has grown so much through the years, but I love seeing her navigate the situation calmly as the expert that she is on childbirth as an OB, but also as probably one of the strongest people at Grey Sloan at this point. How does it feel to play Jo at this moment in her journey? This is the incredible gift about being on our show. I'm in my 14th season, and it's so rare that you get to sit with a character like this for this long of a time and to see her growth. Because even 4 seasons ago, I don't know if she would have handled this situation in the right way. But what I love about her is that she is a survivor in so many different ways. We had a lot of conversations shooting this episode about, emotionally, where she was internally and externally, and what she was willing to show. So there was a lot of her navigating wanting to keep Link calm, what she was understanding herself about the situation that maybe he wasn't understanding. And then you see towards the end of the episode, there's just no holding back. She realizes that it could get really dire. Just tracking that journey through the episode was difficult, because I as Camilla wanted to cry from the very beginning. But Jo's way stronger than me. The episode ends with the twins at risk as Jo was about to undergo a heart procedure. That means Winston has to perform an emergency C-section, and there's no time to wait for help. How was it filming that moment for you and Anthony? It was very be careful what you wish for. I love him so much. We have so much fun together. We see each other at table reads and maybe if there's a crossover at rehearsals, but we never really get to work together. It's very rare. So we're always like, God, we hope we get to work together. And then this came along and I was like, damn. I think it's such a fantastic storyline for him, though, to have to step up at this moment. So I was weirdly excited for this. This is what we do best. These horrifying, terrifying mid-season finales. But I was excited to work with him. Yes, I wish it had been under different circumstances, but the script was written so well, and that being the last thing that we see, I was like, oh my God. The writers are just incredible. How was it working with Felicia Rashad in the director's chair for this episode? She was the perfect person to come in and direct because I almost feel like it was such a high-stakes episode that we needed a calming presence to come in and give us that direction and be soft with us, if that makes sense. Her energy just paired perfectly. She always let me know exactly where she wanted Jo to be emotionally, whether she wanted to amp it up or hold it back. She was so incredibly well prepared. She knew these characters inside and out, so that was also amazing to have someone come in and really understand the journey that this character has been on. She came in and made it a banger episode. We also get the bombshell of Richard's cancer diagnosis in this episode, so it was a doozy. How did this table read go? It's funny because the way I go into a table read is I actually don't read the whole script. I read my part so I understand what I'm bringing to the table, and I like to hear the whole script for the first time out loud. Some of us read ahead of time and others do what I do. So I remember when it got to the Richard part, I audibly gasped. And then of course the Teddy Kim Raver and Owen Kevin McKidd stuff. I think that table read was very overwhelming for everybody. We couldn't wait to get the next script, because we just want answers. But listen, we've all done this long enough that we know when we walk into a mid-season finale or a mid-season premiere episode, they're going to be tough table reads. I don't think I've been to one where it's been easy. It gets very emotional. There's often times where we cry, or we find it really hard to even speak through our lines. Now we have to make it past the holiday season before Grey's returns, and we see what happens next. What's your message to the fans as we go into this hiatus till January? If there's one word to sit on, it would be brutal. Emotionally prepare because the next episode coming up after this, it is worse, to be honest. So yeah, just drink a lot of wine and try to compartmentalize this is not happening on Grey's Anatomy until January. You're one of the longest tenured cast members in Grey's history. I think you're close to 250 episodes so far. What keeps you coming along for this ride season after season? That's an insane number. It's storylines like this that we're playing right now that are the reasons I have always wanted to come back, because it continues to push us, it keeps us on our toes, and they are incredible. There's always something around the corner, there's always a revelation, there's also fun to play or something heartbreaking to play. So that's the writers, and by the way, the fact that they've kept me up until this point is incredible. I am so grateful for all the seasons that I've had on the show. You said on your podcast you have an idea to bring Katherine Heigl back on the show. How did the pitch go? Laughs. I have not pitched that storyline yet. And listen, I don't know if I can pitch the storyline right now, because it would involve Jo being there. And it would mean a continuation of that character, and that's not something I can really talk about right now. Grey's Anatomy sparks fan backlash over a bleak new plot twist. Some Grey's Anatomy fans aren't happy about this storyline. Key points. Jo Wilson faces life-threatening heart condition while pregnant in Season 22, Episode 6. Fans express outrage online, vowing to quit if Jo's character dies. Camilla Luddington warns survival is uncertain. Grey's Anatomy fans aren't happy about beloved character Dr. Jo Wilson's, Camilla Luddington, latest storyline. Grey's Anatomy Season 22, Episode 6, which premiered on November 13th, focused on Jo having health issues during her pregnancy with her and Dr. Atticus Lincoln's Chris Carmack twins. After experiencing a shortness of breath, she gets the diagnosis of peripartum cardiomyopathy, meaning her heart muscle is weakening and getting bigger. Jo decides to get a pump called an Impella placed within the ventricle, instead of delivering her twins early. During the surgery to place the pump, Jo's cardiac reserve began collapsing, requiring an emergency C-section. TV Insider reported that some Grey's Anatomy viewers are saying Jo's possible death would cause them to stop watching the ABC medical drama. For instance, one fan took to the Grey's Anatomy subreddit on Reddit to express their frustration about Jo's bleak storyline. "I swear if they kill Jo in the next episode, I'm gonna rage quit the show. They can't kill Jo, please," wrote the fan. Another viewer wrote, "I will riot. But really, if Chandra kills Jo off, I'll finally stop watching. I've said this before and always come back." Grey's Anatomy is the longest and most toxic relationship Eve ever had, in the same November 17th Reddit thread. Other fans shared their thoughts about Jo's surgery in a Reddit thread discussing Season 22, Episode 6. Fans shared they'll be unhappy if Jo dies on Instagram. On November 14th, the official Grey's Anatomy Instagram account shared a picture of Jo in her hospital bed. Several fans shared that they'll be extremely upset if Jo doesn't live after her surgery. "If she dies, I am done. And I have watched every season and every episode," wrote a commenter. "If you harm one hair on her head, I'm so done," added another. "I swear on everything this will be where I call it quits if y'all do anything to Jo, those babies or Link," shared a different person. "I hate this," commented a fan. "Don't play with our emotions about Jo," stated an Instagram user. Camilla Luddington discussed her character's Season 22 storyline. Luddington spoke about her character's health issues in a November 2025 interview with The Wrap. She noted that Season 22, Episode 6, marks the show's mid-season finale. Season 22 will return on January 8, 2026, per the publication. "This is what we do best. These horrifying, terrifying mid-season finales. The script was written so well, and that being the last thing that we see, I was like, oh my god. The writers are just incredible," said Luddington, who joined the show's cast in 2012. "This is a situation where everything hangs in the balance and survival is not guaranteed for a lot of us involved. The cost of a mistake could be everything. Emotionally prepare, because the next episode, it's worse, to be honest." Luddington also complimented how Jo has handled her heart issues during her pregnancy. "But what I love about her is that she is a survivor in so many different ways. We had a lot of conversations shooting this episode about, emotionally, where she was internally and externally, and what she was willing to show," said the actress to the publication. "So there was a lot of her navigating wanting to keep Link calm, what she was understanding herself about the situation that maybe he wasn't understanding. And then you see towards the end of the episode, there's just no holding back. She realizes that it could get really dire." Grey's Anatomy fans threatened to rage quit and riot if Jo Wilson dies. The fall finale of Grey's Anatomy left one major character's life in jeopardy, and now, some fans are threatening to walk away from the long-lived medical drama if things go badly for her when the show returns in January. Last week's episode, When I Crash, saw the still-pregnant Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, being diagnosed with a heart condition by Winston Dugu Anthony Hill. Since she wanted to keep her twin babies in utero for as long as possible, she opted for the least aggressive treatment option, that is, medication, before agreeing to a procedure that would avoid a cesarean section. However, when she began to decompensate on the table, Dugu had to resort to a C-section, which he hadn't done since medical school, right there on the spot. We don't yet know the fate of Jo, but the promo for Episode 7, which airs on January 8th, doesn't look too promising. Watch it above. Jo has, of course, had a hard season, beginning with the nearly grave injuries that her new husband, Atticus Link Lincoln, Chris Carmack, sustained in the ER explosion. In between seasons, fans had good reason to worry that Link wouldn't make it out alive then, and now with her life on the line, it's too much for some viewers. I swear if they kill Joe in the next episode, I'm gonna rage quit the show. They can't kill Jo, please, one fan wrote on Reddit, earning a stream of similar responses like, I will riot. But really, if Shonda Rhimes kills Joe sick off, I'll finally stop watching. I've said this before and always come back. Grey's Anatomy is the longest and most toxic relationship Eve ever had. One fan responded to say that they believe the character has simply been traumatized enough with her storyline, which has included growing up in extreme poverty, being abused by her ex-husband, watching him die after trying to attack her, learning she was the product of rape, and being left by her second husband without so much as an in-person goodbye, given the arc of her entire story on the show. Jo certainly deserves happiness, and for one of the couples on the show not to be having problems or issues. The same fan went on to criticize Jo's storyline in season 22 and added, quite honestly, finding out how they happened to manage all those kids was one of the reasons I'm still watching the show. Some Grey's watchers weren't so opposed to the idea of Jo being written out at this point, with one writing in a separate thread that she might be on the way out for good reason. Because her character has ran its course, I believe. Still, others think the cliffhanger about Jo might have a happy ending, with one writing, I predict Jo pulls through, for the simple reason the writing has become so formulaic and predictable. OMG, that car rolled away. No more Owen. OMG, poor Link. Actually, it ended as poor Beltran. But who's counting? Now Jo is in grave danger. Ergo, OMG. There's no way Jo survives this. Actually, there is a way. Even among those who predict Jo will survive, some have other grim predictions, with one fan writing, I think she'll survive, but I fear we are losing one of the Babs. How do you think the Grey's Anatomy mid-season cliffhanger about Jo will turn out? Hit the comments below and let us know. Grey's Anatomy actor James Pickens shares a heartbreaking health update. Actor James Pickens Jr. reveals real-life prostate cancer diagnosis and cancer-free status. For 22 seasons, James Pickens Jr. has portrayed Dr. Richard Webber on Shonda Rhimes' hit show Grey's Anatomy, whose storylines have taken fans through alcoholism, the strain of caring for his Alzheimer's-stricken wife Adele, Loretta Devine, and even cobalt poisoning. In a striking example of art imitating life, Pickens himself recently revealed his own cancer diagnosis, just as his character faced the same battle on screen. During the November 13th mid-season finale, Dr. Richard Webber revealed that he had prostate cancer. At the time, viewers did not know that Pickens, the 73-year-old actor who plays him, also faced the disease. Pickens used his platform for awareness. The following day, Pickens appeared in a public service announcement for Black Health Matters, using his real-life platform to urge Black men to get screened for prostate cancer. He encouraged Black men to take the prostate-specific antigen, PSA, test, a simple blood test that measures the PSA protein, which is produced by normal and cancerous prostate cells. Now cancer-free, the actor shared that the disease is highly treatable when caught early. Today, I am living proof that early detection works. If you're Black or prostate cancer runs in your family, talk to your doctor about screening at 40, he said in the video. Family history and early detection. Although Pickens' announcement may have surprised fans of the show, the actor spoke openly with Black Health Matters, sharing that his diagnosis wasn't unexpected because his own father and several uncles had prostate cancer too. I would have been surprised if I hadn't gotten it, he said, adding that they all survived to his knowledge. Pickens' prostate cancer diagnosis began with a routine physical in 2024. His doctor noticed a rise in his PSA levels and referred him to a urologist. An MRI revealed something suspicious, and a biopsy confirmed a tumor. Fortunately, a PET scan showed the cancer had not spread and was limited to just one quadrant of his prostate, Pickens said. Grey's Anatomy's fall finale aims for shocks, revelations, and hookups. Yet still underwhelms, but did anything blow us away during Grey's Anatomy Season 22 Episode 6? Nah, not really. In true fashion, Grey's Anatomy shoots for shocking revelations, new hookups, and sexual tension, as well as the usual putting one of their own in danger. However, everything is so predictable that none of it really lands. Who are these people again? And no, I'm not just cracking a joke about Helm randomly popping up in the episode after I don't even know how long to be a background fixture. The fall finale does something that I wish they'd do more of, which is attempt to give us more time with the collection of residents and interns that the series has acquired, most of whom they don't know what to do with. It sometimes requires notes to remember the names of some of these new characters because most of them lack presence, or the series doesn't spend nearly enough time with them for them to really matter. Grey's Anatomy fall finale delivers two shocking diagnoses, raising questions about future of two popular cast members. The story includes details about season 22 episode 6, When I Crash, of ABC's Grey's Anatomy. The promos for tonight's Grey's Anatomy fall finale had prepared fans for perilous situations involving two Grey Sloan doctors, Teddy Kim Raver, who was seen under a crashed bus as it dropped on her, and Jo Camilla Luddington, with Winston Anthony Hill telling Link, Chris Carmack, that her heart is failing. In light of that, Jo's heartbreaking peripartum cardiomyopathy diagnosis did not come as a complete surprise, but Grey's managed to deliver a bombshell, one we didn't see coming. In the final minutes, Richard James Pickens, Jr. revealed that he had cancer. Update: Pickens Jr. on Friday opened up about his own battle with prostate cancer. Your Grey's Anatomy official recap. Season 22, Episode 6. It's a busy day over at Grey Sloan Memorial as When I Crash gets underway. And doesn't that just feel right for our mid-season finale of Grey's Anatomy? Jo and Link and their babies are put in a precarious situation. Weber delivers some troubling news, and people who have never made out with each other before make out with each other. On an elevator, no less. It's a lot to chew on as we head into our winter hiatus. Let's talk about it. Choose your own adventure. Newborn Hellscape. At the end of last week's episode, when Jo noted that the way she was leaking wasn't normal, she was not kidding. At first, it seems like the babies are fine and the cervical circlage is holding, but things go off the rails quickly when she suddenly gets short of breath. To be safe, she wants cardio to check her out. If anyone knows how to advocate for a pregnant patient, it's Jo. Link doesn't get a hold of just any cardio doctor to run tests on his wife. He gets the cardio chief himself. Link going immediately to Winston to check on Jo is a telltale sign that Link is freaking out. A sign, as it turns out, that is quite necessary since Link and Jo have a major problem. Both are terrified about what's happening, but neither wants to stress the other out, so they're pretending everything is fine. This is a terrible tactic. Sure, they need to remain as calm as possible for Jo's and the baby's health, but pretending you're doing okay as the news gets progressively worse doesn't help anybody. This becomes especially true when Winston and Ben, who has an excellent poker face, by the way, finally inform Jo and Link what's going on. Jo has peripartum cardiomyopathy. Her heart is failing. Winston, who has no real OB experience, is about as calm a doctor as you could ask for at a time like this. At this point, Jo still has some options. First, she can take some medication that might prevent things from getting worse. If the meds don't work, there is a pump they could install directly into a ventricle, which would support the heart and give it time to recover. The pump, though not ideal, would give the babies more time in utero. They should have 7 more weeks. The nuclear option, of course, is an emergency C-section 7 weeks early. Sigh. We all know where this goes. When Link catches Winston and Ben alone, he asks them, as a friend, how worried should he be? The time for poker faces and pretending everything is just fine is over. This is serious, but they are watching it. Jo is their priority. It would be nice if an OB doctor could check on her. Where is Karina DeLuca when you need her? Still, the guys push on with their course of treatment. Did anyone actually think the meds were going to work? Things quickly take a turn. Jo's blood pressure drops dangerously low, and she's having even more trouble breathing. Ben and Winston rush Jo out to the OR to place the pump and, hopefully, stop her from crashing, just as Link walks in after making a call to check on the kids. It is chaos. The man is distraught. I'm starting to feel bad about how much I judged him for singing his vows. Sing your vows, dude. Sing whatever you want. Oh, did you think once Winston and Ben got Jo into the OR things would be a breeze? You've never watched this show before, have you? Before Winston can do anything, the OB nurse says she's lost both fetal heart tones. The babies need to be delivered now. Unfortunately, no OBs are currently available, and this really isn't something you can table until someone's schedule clears up. Winston, who hasn't performed a C-section since med school, will have to deliver Joe's babies. He grabs a scalpel, and he makes the first cut. Push it. Push it real good. Worrying about Joe and her babies won't be the only development vexing Grey's Anatomy fans over the winter hiatus. Richard Webber is in trouble. And it all starts with Teddy finding Owen naked in bed with another woman. Well, sort of. You'll see. After Teddy and her kids walk in on Owen and Nora in bed in Owen's trailer, both the doctors happen to be in the area when a major, multiple motor vehicle accident leaves a cyclist trapped under a bus. Teddy and Owen get over their awkwardness to prevent Maisie from bleeding out right there on the street, even when it takes Teddy crawling under that unstable bus to place a tourniquet on Maisie's leg to stop said bleeding. Maisie is upset for so many reasons. Being trapped under a bus is probably, number one, including the fact that she and her boyfriend recently broke up over what now feels like a very stupid fight, and all she wants right now is to talk to him. This situation with Maisie is clearly supposed to parallel Teddy and Owen's situation. If it's not clear when they are trying to save Maisie's life, it should be when Teddy runs into that ex-boyfriend, who is in tears, asking if Maisie is okay, and is overwhelmed with regret for ever walking out on her. Are Teddy and Owen rushing to divorce when they might regret it? If something were to happen to either of them, wouldn't it be the other person they'd want with them? Teddy isn't convinced. Their situation is complicated, but staying together just isn't working. For her, this separation is hard, but it's right. All of which is to say, nothing has changed with Teddy and Owen. Well, one thing has changed. Nora officially puts a stop to whatever she and Owen were starting. She needs to rely on Teddy for her health, and getting in the middle of this divorce makes it too messy. So, Teddy and Owen are basically the same, except Owen is even sadder. What does all of this have to do with Webber? Well, another victim Owen and Teddy bring in from the pileup is Glenn, an aide to an autistic person named Aaron. Glenn's injuries are extensive, and his chance of survival is, let's call it, low. So low. But then, Webber arrives in the ER and swears they are going to save this man's life. When he has to tend to another patient, Bailey takes over, and it becomes clear to her that there is nothing more to do for Glenn. They need to call the time of death. Once again, Webber walks in just in time. They are not calling the time of death. They are going to save this man. Bailey disagrees and stands there aghast that Webber would keep pushing this. But push he does. They open Glenn's chest and inject his heart with AP before doing chest compressions. They are not giving up. They are going to give Glenn everything they've got. Suddenly, he has a rhythm. Webber was right to push. He saved this man's life. After Bailey finishes fixing all of Glenn's injuries in the OR, she goes to apologize to her mentor and friend for fighting against him with this patient. Webber was right to fight for him. It's then that it becomes clear just why Webber was so desperate to save Glenn. Webber has just learned from his urologist that he has prostate cancer. He is about to be the patient. He will be entering his own fight and hoping that his doctors fight just as hard for him too. On your service. Thankfully, the Grey Sloan residents are having much better days than the attendings. It certainly doesn't start that way. Webber sends out an email informing all residents that they need to increase their caseloads by 10%. People are stressed, to say the least. Quan is eyeing one case he'd like to add to his, load. Dr. Mohani is scheduled to perform a tram flap later that day, and he wants in. Mohanty is worried that if she agrees, she'll look like she's favoring him, especially since she just told Lucas no when he asked to join her in the OR. Alas, Quan is her favorite. She cannot resist the Quan charm, and we ask, who can? So she makes him a deal. If he can place a wound vac on her 80-year-old patient Frank, he can have the surgery. The catch? The ulcer that they are trying to keep clean and let heal is right next to the anus, and this has made it impossible for anyone else to properly place it. But what's a little anus-adjacent ulcer to Quan when a coveted surgery is on the line? Quan enlists Lucas and his intern for the day. Danny, you remember her from the season premiere. Meredith had to operate on her in the clinic, without telling his friend that he'll get the surgery Lucas wanted if they get this wound vac sorted out. However, Frank, the grumpiest old man to ever grump, spills the beans, and Lucas rescinds his offer to help. Danny stays to help Quan, but soon he's called away to the ER. The wound vac can't be placed, and Frank will need an ostomy to give that ulcer a chance to heal. Frank pretends like he's not upset by this news. but it's clear to Danny that he is. It's Danny who convinces Lucas to go back and try the wound vac again, thanks to a heartfelt speech about taking an oath to heal people. Frank is old, and an ostomy could come with a lot of problems. They owe it to him to at least try. We all know that behind that brooding face, Lucas is a softie, and so off he goes back to the anus ulcer. He does ultimately place the wound vac, but he also pretty curtly dismisses Danny while doing it. But again, the guy is all heart, and when Mohunty offers him the tram flap, he asks if Danny can scrub in too. Don't feel too bad for Quan, though. He bumps into Mohunty on the elevator, wink wink, and informs her that he's not torn up about losing out on the surgery. He knows there will be more surgeries. When he wants something bad enough, he will do everything in his power to get it. It's Mohunty who asks if a tram flap surgery is all he wants. His answer? He stops the elevator, and they furiously make out. I told you Quan was her favorite. If the elevators take the top spot in the Grey Sloan hotbeds of sexual tension rankings, supply closets have to be a close number 2. They certainly make a run for number 1 in this episode. Today, Wes is put on Simone's service, because of course he is. The two of them wind up being put on errand duty. When the ambulance pulls up with Glenn, a distressed Aaron runs out and away from the hospital. Simone and Wes track him down to a nearby park bench. Aaron is nonverbal and he's clearly agitated, but he has a headlock they'd like to get a closer look at. It's Wes who winds up finding a way to bond with Aaron over basketball and their bad experiences with hospitals. Wes' younger brother has epilepsy, and eventually Wes is able to convince Aaron to come inside the hospital with him. It's still a bit of a tag team effort for Wes and Simone to actually clean the headlock, but Simone is impressed by not just Wes' bedside manner. When he turns down a chance to place a chest tube to stay with Aaron, she is also moved by his ability to put patient care over getting the flash ear procedure. Tensions seem to have softened between Simone and Wes, and he notices it too. It is, perhaps, why he makes a little move on her when they find themselves alone in the supply closet. She is very clear that her compliments were not an opening for something to happen between them again. It is also very clear that the tensions between them have moved from the angry kind to the other, much more fun kind. The supply closet doesn't get any play today, but don't count it out just yet. Grey's Anatomy. Will Joe and the twins survive? When will new episodes air? Camilla Luddington breaks down finale cliffhanger. Spoilers. The long-running medical drama Grey's Anatomy delivered one of its most intense mid-season finales yet with Season 22, Episode 6, titled When I Crash. As the series enters its holiday hiatus, the episode has left viewers with a harrowing question. Will Dr. Jo Wilson and her unborn twins survive? Over 14 seasons, Jo Wilson has evolved into one of the strongest characters at Grey Sloan Memorial Hospital. In this episode, she balances medical expertise with maternal instinct, striving to stay calm for both her twins and her partner Link. Luddington said playing Jo during such a vulnerable yet powerful moment required navigating complex emotional layers, especially as the character attempts to shield her loved ones from the severity of the situation. But the finale forced Jo to confront the very real possibility that she may not survive the impending heart procedure, just as Winston was forced to confront an emergency he never expected to handle alone. Behind the scenes, a high-stakes episode directed by Felicia Rashad. The episode was directed by Felicia Rashad, whose calm presence and deep understanding of character arcs brought stability to an emotionally demanding storyline. Luddington said Rashad's guidance ensured that Grey's Anatomy Season 22 Episode 6 leaves two beloved characters in dangerous health situations, and one of them has been beloved since day when there were perilous situations for two Grey Sloan doctors as Grey's Anatomy delivered an intense mid-season finale last night, November 13th. The promos for Episode 6, titled When I Crash, had teased life-threatening danger for Dr. Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, with Winston Anthony Hill revealing that her heart was failing and Teddy Kim Raver, who was seen trapped under a crashed bus. And things certainly weren't looking good for Jo in the episode as her routine checkup quickly turned ominous when her shortness of breath was identified as a symptom of peripartum cardiomyopathy. The situation soon turned from bad to worse when pills didn't work and an attempt to insert a pump went south, leaving Jo and her twins crashing. With no OBGYN doctors available, Winston was forced to perform a C-section, his first since medical school. On the upside, things ultimately turned out to be fine for Teddy, who managed to get out from under the vehicle without a scratch after stabilizing the woman caught underneath. But while Teddy escaped unscathed, there was bad news for another Gray Sloan doctor as a scary diagnosis was revealed. In a huge twist in the final moments of the episode, Dr. Richard Weber, James Pickens, Jr., revealed that he had cancer, with the character's admission coming after he lashed out at Miranda Bailey, Chunder Wilson. Weber is of the last two original cast members who continues to be part of the main cast alongside Wilson's Dr. Miranda. Joe and Richard's fates will be left hanging in the balance until January 8th, when Grey's Anatomy is set to return with more episodes. This is what we do best. These horrifying, terrifying mid-season finales, Ludington said of the episode during a recent interview with The Wrap. The script was written so well, and that being the last thing that we see, I was like, oh my god. The writers are just incredible. She continued, this is a situation where everything hangs in the balance and survival is not guaranteed for a lot of us involved. The cost of a mistake could be everything. Emotionally prepare, because the next episode, it's worse to be honest. When will Grey's Anatomy Season 22 return from hiatus? What to know: the following contains details from the Season 22 of Grey's Anatomy. Season 22 of Grey Anatomy is approaching its mid-season hiatus. But before the series goes on a break, the hospital staff at Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital will tend to patients involved in a catastrophic bus accident, according to the upcoming episode's synopsis. The new season commenced with the hospital and its staff on a long path to recovery after a major explosion in the season premiere left multiple people injured, one character dead, and caused severe damage to the structure. The blast, caused by a cauterization tool igniting gas in an operating room, injured multiple characters, including Dr. Atticus Lincoln, Chris Carmack, who was the most severely injured character. The orthopedic surgeon even shared an emotional farewell phone call with his new wife, Dr. Joe Wilson, Camilla Ludington, but later miraculously survived. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.